Here.
First order of business is approval of the minutes for the regular meeting, January 14th, 2015, the special meeting, January 20th, 2015, and the workshop meeting, January 28th, 2015, and the special meeting, February 2nd, 2015.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as stated.
Second?
Motion and second, in discussion. Hearing none, Mary call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Leslie Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next, workshop meeting, ratification of bills for January, February, March 2015.
Make a motion that we ratify the bills for January, February, March 2015 as stated.
Second.
Motion and second, in discussion. Hearing none, Mary call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Leslie Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next, oath of office for Commissioner Holmes and myself.
Join me down front. I apologize, I forgot about swearing in, or I would have worn a dark suit or something.
Officially, we accept your
Okay. And Commissioner Holmes, I don't know, I think I've done this with you, what, 30 times now?
No, not that quick.
Okay. If you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I,
Arlene Holmes,
a citizen of the state of Florida
citizen of the state of Florida
and of the United States of America,
and of the United States of America,
and being employed by
and been employed by
or an officer of
or an officer of
the town of Reddington Shores,
the town of Reddington Shores,
and a recipient of public funds
and a recipient of public funds,
as such employee or officer,
as such employee or officer,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Florida.
and of
and the state of Florida.
Congratulations.
All right, our MPO representative, Cookie Kennedy, Commissioner in Indian Rocks Beach, is here tonight and to give us some information. And Cookie, if you could come forward, please.
Thank you for having me, Mayor Burt, and all the commissioners. It's very nice to see you. I am your representative, and I haven't been to your city yet, so what I want to say first is I'm your first representative on the beaches, and I wanted to be as proactive as I could in helping us because we have not had anybody since the MPO began, and I felt that I'm going to be out of the box and I'm going to do whatever I can to help all of you. So one of the things is I gave you a packet on the unification, and I want to tell you, first of all, a little bit about my background. I'm a commissioner in the city of Indian Rocks Beach. This is my, I've been on since 2008, and I have been unopposed all these times, so I'm sure next year I'll probably have an election now. And I was on from 1999 to 2002. And I grew up in this area. I was born here. I went to all the local schools. Largo, my father taught American government at Largo Junior High for 11 of his 30 years, so I come by it very naturally, be involved with politics. I have a son, his name is Luke, he's on his first year of college, and we have lived in, I'm a small business owner by trade, and we've lived in the same house for the last 20 years in Indian Rocks Beach, so just so that you know a little bit about me. And my goals are to be engaged with all of you, be proactive, and the first thing I want to show you on this, in the little pamphlet I gave you Most people don't know what the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, or the PPC, the Pinellas Planning Council, are. Not only do they not know what they are, they don't really know what they do and how they can help all of us. So, the unification, the state and the county came together and decided in 2011, when I was serving on the PPC, which I was also your representative on the PPC since 2011, that they would unify these two boards. And I think that's been a very, very good idea that they did that. And we were seated in September of last year. That was my first meeting on the MPO. And if you turn to the next page, as funny as things may turn out, we had our new slate of officers, and so your representative is now the secretary, so that means in 2 years, I'll be the chairman of the board, so I am on a fast track to make sure that I understand what's going on the MPO, and that I represent you and you're not embarrassed, that I do the right things. The next is our responsibilities, and that's kind of the reason that I'm here tonight, is to kind of explain to you some of what the MPO and the PPC do. And on this page, you'll see we establish priorities for state and federal funding. We look at long-range transportation plans, unified planning work programs, and we offer a lot of technical assistance to local government, which I'm going to get back to with you about that at the very end. And then, of course, public involvement. And since I've been on the board, and when things come up that I think that our beaches would feel are important, for instance, this next page, which kind of tells you about the agencies that we deal with. We deal with US DOT, we deal with the Florida DOT, and these advisory committees and the coordinating agencies are all the groups that the Metropolitan Planning Organization deal with and how we interact with them. And I wanted you to see that and have that. In November, we received this this really bothered me, and this was about the traffic fatalities all through the county, but even on Gulf Boulevard. And as you know, we just had one in Madeira Beach the other day. Somebody got hit and killed. And that's, one of the problems that I see in this county that we need to deal with. And so I wanted you to see where we're at in 2014. The next page is, these are the available project types and the kinds of grants that are available to us. And until we had a representative on the board, one of the first agenda items we had when we became the MPO was a grant, I want to say it was about 10 pages thick, of all of the cities that are going to be having some kind of funding for a project, whether it was a transportation, pedestrian, access, walks, flooding, safety issues, and our beaches had 2 projects, and one was the resurfacing into 2040. And basically, that's because we haven't had a representative. That's what that's about. We haven't had somebody up there trying to, help us. So that's why I'm trying to be proactive with all of this. So one of the first things I did was I wrote a letter to Senator Nelson, and when I first got on the MPO, Sarah Ward is the person that I deal with, she's my liaison on the MPO, and the first thing she told me is, of course, they don't have that much money, and there's always problems with money, okay? I only get on boards that have problems with money. They never have a lot of money. So we wrote to Senator Nelson, and I made a list of all of the things that, on the beaches, that we could use grant money for. And within 2 weeks, I heard from him. He sent us a list of different grants that were available, and since then, we have been going through those grants, trying to find some that would work for some of the projects that all of the cities like you have put in. And we are going, hopefully we're going to have a scheduled meeting with him before August, and so that all of an elected official from each city will get to meet with him and kind of talk to him about a project that you feel you would like to see some funding at the federal level. In saying all of that, some things that have happened since then Today, we elected, when we merged the two boards, we had two interim directors, and it was decided that that was not a good idea. So we went out, and today we hired a man named Charles Wilt Blanton. He's going to be the new executive director. You're going to like him. He has some experience in Pinellas County. I talked to him extensively about the beaches and how we want to be recognized and helped, and he is all very proactive and wants to be engaged with us, so that was a really good thing. And under new business that I want to talk to you about is Al Bartoletto, who was at your Big C. He told me that the codes, you're one of the cities that have not called him to kind of look everything over. So, I don't know, I brought his card for you. He asked me to give it to you guys, and I have it here. And maybe someone from your, the manager or whatever can get in touch with him, and I'll give it to you before I leave, to get in touch with him because he thinks he can tweak whatever is needed, okay? So I will give that to you. Mary Beth contacted me about your shelters, your bus shelters, and the problem that you're having and what you want to do, move some, have some new ones, and we put those on a list. I'm going to be having a meeting with FDOT. We don't have the meeting set, but since then, I heard from Senator Nelson with Swift Mud, and he is setting up a meeting. You will be getting an invitation to it. It's going to be March 18th at 10 a.m. in the city of Indian Rocks Beach, and on that, I put I listed each of the cities and the one project, and I put Mary Beth's project on there for you. And as a side note, at the end, I'm going to talk to Swift Mud and FDOT and whoever can help us as far as undergrounding. Now, you told me that, Maybert. So basically, that's where I'm at. I wanted to come around so you guys know my face and know that I'm trying to be out there and help you guys the best I can. And if any other, I wanted to just, one other thing that I want to talk about is the MPO, some of the things we deal with are the transportation, being pedestrian friendly, sidewalks, if you need any sidewalks, if you have any flooding issues, safety, and crosswalks, so that you haven't, those are some of the things that we will look for grant money. And I can't say that you're going to get it for tomorrow, but you have to get on a list, let's get on the list, okay, because we're not on anything. So thank you for letting me have you 15 minutes here. I appreciate it. I don't know if there's any questions that you have that I can answer for you or help you with. I left you my cards.
I appreciate it, Cookie. I know that with Al, regarding contacting Al, Steve,
I'll give it to him.
Andrews, our building official, and I talked about that the
Okay.
other day, so that, we're going to contact him.
Okay, very good. Good, everybody good? Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we also have with us tonight our fire chief, Chief Burford. She's had a couple of days of practice here lately, right?
Practice. I'm not sure that's exactly the word, but yes, definitely opportunities to deliver service to you, for sure. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, town staff, residents, visitors. Heather Burford, I'm the fire chief for the City of Seminole Fire Rescue Department, one of the two agencies that provides fire protection and EMS services to your area. So I have three things for you tonight. Commissioner Holmes asked if I would present the February report for fire and EMS calls, which I'll do. And then I've put together just a quick overview of your calls for service during 2014. I thought it was kind of interesting, just the counts and breakdowns when your busy months are. You probably know them, but put those numbers together this afternoon, and hopefully we can talk about those. And then I'd given a brief overview of the two incidents that we did have over the last couple of weeks. So for the month of February, you're very busy, again. I think I was here last February as well, when also you were quite busy with folks coming back into the area, visitors returning, which is wonderful. Ironically, we break things down, as you're aware, into non-emergency fire and EMS, and emergency fire and EMS calls. Anytime we can, decipher through the 911 caller that we do not need to go with lights and siren to a call, we do so. And we do that through a sophisticated dispatch system that asks a series of questions that determines whether it is appropriate for the units to go with the flow of traffic. Certainly safer for us, safer for those on the roadway, and less disruptive. So anytime we can go non-emergency or no lights and siren, we do so. So in the month of February, you actually had no non-emergency fire calls and no emergency fire calls. It was a very quiet month for us. I apologize. I'm reading from the wrong report. I thought that sounded a little off. You had 2 non-emergency fire responses, and you had 4 emergency fire responses. Codes such as major incident, structure fire, reports of structure fire, special run card, and fire alarm. Mostly fire alarms is what we have down here. On the EMS side of things, you had 4 non-emergency EMS responses, and you had 24 emergency EMS responses. And that's where we tend to see our increase this time of year. Folks on the beach, out participating in activities and sports and whatnot, and it does tend to get a little bit busy. For the month, we did fall under the required county time frame of 7.5-minute response time for emergency calls, 90% of the time. We're happy to say that. That is a statistic that we keep track of very closely and monitor monthly, and those are the reports that I present to Commissioner Holmes each month. Does anybody have any questions on February's report? May I present this to the board? So what's coming around, as I mentioned, is just an overview of your calls for 2014. I thought it was sort of interesting to put things together to see what was really happening down here. And this is specific to your town, your community, and response came from a variety of departments, primarily from the Seminole Fire Rescue Department, some from Adair Beach, and some from Pinellas Suncoast. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, the calls totaled 411 for the year. This is based on the calendar year 2014. And what I've done in yellow is highlighted those areas, either really the peak numbers, if you will. So if you look under non-emergency fire calls, March had 3, so that was the highest number that we recorded. For emergency fire calls, we had 9 in November. For whatever reason, that was a high area, a high time frame. For non-emergency EMS calls, both May and July were busy years. I know this year in particular, we had a tremendous number of calls out to the water rescues, assistance for swimmers, and those calls are probably built into those numbers. You can see May, for emergency EMS calls, was your highest month at 29. And overall, March, you expect March to be one of your busy months with 43 calls. So they're tallied up by the type of calls and then by the month for your reference. I just thought it was interesting to present that tonight for you to take a look at. I'd be happy at any time to break those statistics down into more specifics. You might be interested in the type of calls that you're having, motor vehicle accidents, medical calls, pedestrian struck, things like that might be interesting to you that I can do at any time. I'd offer that to you. So let me tell you a little bit about the work that we've done down here recently. We have had 2, what we consider incidents of significance, 2 reports of structure fires down along Gulf Boulevard. One was on the 19th of the month, and that was the Reddington Towers fire. The Reddington Towers fire, I just want to give you a few bullet points about the incident. This call actually came in as a fire alarm, a commercial fire alarm. The facility, all 3 buildings in Reddington Towers are monitored by a commercial fire alarm system, which is wonderful. You get that early notification, whether it's in your home or in a business like that or a large commercial or a large residential structure. That early notification is so important. So what happened was the fire actually started. It was a fire alarm that tripped and activated our response. So our initial response was for a fire alarm, which got about 3 or 4 units coming at the initial indication. Very quickly, because of the 24-hour staff there, we were notified that there was actually smoke in the lobby area, and en route to the incident, the call was upgraded to a report of a structure fire. What that does is gets us additional units coming right off the get-go. Many of the residential housing units along the golf course are what we consider target hazards. And we say that because we know that there are a large number of people, a large group of residents living in these buildings with a lot of vertical living quarters. So any place like the Reddington Towers, 21 stories, 345 units, I believe. 345? 352, close. A lot of potential for the need for additional units. So we get those units on the road. I had a lot of questions about why were there so many units up and down Gulf Boulevard. We had units lined up forever. The situation was that if we needed those units, they could have been activated. As it turns out, most of those units were actually utilized. So the call came in at 12:56 p.m. on Thursday the 19th, as I say, as a commercial fire alarm, upgraded. The first arriving units got here at 1:03 and immediately went to the alarm panel to see where the situation was. The alarm panel is so sophisticated and so sensitive that it indicated smoke on all 5 floors of the building. So quickly working with staff and security staff and maintenance facility folks, we were able to realize where the fire was, which ended up being in a sauna in a men's room off the main common area at the back of the building. It ended up being an electrical issue that ignited the fire in an area maybe about 6 by 6, a small sauna, but it was fully engulfed with fire upon our arrival. The fire was quickly knocked down. Within about 4 minutes, it was put out. It was an easy fire to put out. That particular part of the building is not sprinklered, so there was no sprinkler activation. Quickly, fire was knocked down. Our situation at that point was really smoke. So multiple units to assist with some evacuation. We were able to isolate the evacuation in this situation to only the first 5 floors. Those folks that were on floor 6 and above were actually permitted to remain in their homes where they were more comfortable. In the end, we were out of there at about 4:20 in the afternoon. In the end, about 60 residents were assisted from the areas of evacuation. Others elected to evacuate as well. If you remember that day, I do, it was a very cold, windy day. In fact, we had to find shelter, and it was the homeowner association staff from all 3 of the buildings, primarily from Building 2, who helped us, assisted us in finding an area of refuge for folks to go into. So we put people in the lobbies of Buildings 1 and 3, and that was really quite nice while people could not get back into the building. Things like checking for carbon monoxide and ventilating the area just took time. There was initially a bit of a communications breakdown with the staff and the homeowners association folks in the buildings, which we have now met with. I have met with the group, and we are starting to put a plan together to better understand what both of our expectations should be, what our expectations should be of their staff, and vice versa, what their expectations should be of us. So I'm working with the 3 groups of homeowner associations. We're going to do a little training. We're going to talk a little bit about the incident command system, and we're actually going to form small response teams that won't be running around putting out fires, but will be utilized because they're so familiar with the buildings, they're so understanding of their residents, they know these places like the back of their hand. We want to harness that energy and that effort and get them involved in the overall response so that in the future we have better communication, we have improved flow of activity, and we have information going to all the residents and their families. For several days afterwards, I actually spoke with family from all across the country who had heard about the incident, wondered how Grandma was doing or how Mom and Dad were doing. So it was, it's a much bigger incident than just at that address. So all in all, no injuries to any residents. We did have 5 people assisted down by fire staff, 1 individual who was taken to the hospital for evaluation, but not associated with any exposure to smoke or products of combustion. No firefighter injuries either. During that fire, soon afterwards, I did present a full report to Commissioner Holmes, and I think he has that for your information as well. So on the morning of the 3rd, we responded back down to Gulf Boulevard for another report of structure fire, and this was at Angler's Cove, just up the road, in fact, just across the street from here. This was a building that ended up being a 2-alarm fire, small fire in an office area on the main floor. Again, fire alarm activation in conjunction with staff realizing that there was a smoke condition. In this particular case, this building is fully sprinklered, and it was actually a single sprinkler head activation that put the fire out, kept it in check while the crews arrived, evaluated the area, assisted with evacuation, approximately 300 or so people in the building at the time, and finished off putting out the fire and started to ventilate the situation. So again, an incident that was well contained, no injuries, only a slight disruption to folks in the morning. People within a 2-hour period were able to get back into their homes and continue their vacation. I think the things that we have learned from these incidents is, again, the need for good communication with the staff, the security folks, the residents of these facilities, and the visitors. A lot of the folks at Angler Cove have been coming down for years, 30 years they've been coming to this particular facility out of Canada, out of the northern areas, so they're very familiar with the site, but they're not full-time residents. So working with their homeowner association as well, we were able to continue what we learned from the first fire and continue that communication. We will be evaluating our protocols and our response profiles to these buildings. Some of the things in the Reddington Towers incident, there's a wonderful annunciator system, a communication system throughout the building that actually works very well right into the individual residents, where we can continue the flow of communication even better. We're going to look at how we respond to these situations, how we interact with the staff, and how we actually pull them in to be a part of our command structure, because that liaison is so important to really mitigating these incidents. We understand that these are businesses, in a sense. If people are paying good money to be down here for a week or a month or 6 months, they want to be able to continue their vacation without interruption. And so the quicker we can get folks back into these buildings, back into their environments, we understand how important that is, and we'll work towards that as we would with any commercial structure. So, learned a lot. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. Very proud of the response and the coordination. It didn't always look like it was coordinated, but from our level, it really was. We have a post-incident analysis tomorrow where we're bringing in all of the responding agencies for both incidents, and we'll get the feedback, what was positive, what was negative, and what we can learn from the whole situation as a group. Anybody have any questions for me?
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
I will mention that during the fire at Anglers Cove, the chief met someone that had was where she was raised in Canada, lived a block from her.
It was unbelievable. It was a woman who needed some assistance to get back upstairs. And I said, "Where are you from?" Just in general conversation. And she said, Dollar des Allemands in Quebec. I said, Dollar des Allemands, Sunshine Boulevard. She ended up living two doors away, 2 blocks away, in the same home for many, many years. You heard that story.
Yes, I did.
Small world. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Chief.
We'll go now to commission reports. And my report, other than I had to go to see a doctor today, a dermatologist, and he sliced on me, and I'm still trying to recover. So if y'all excuse my dabbing. But my report would be strictly on the new hang tags that the sheriff has issued out at no cost to us. I think it's going to be a very good program, so if you haven't come into the town hall and received your new hang tag, please do so. There's 2 tags per resident. Businesses, there's for the owner, and then of course some of his workers that they might need in there to help them. There's hang tags available. I guess we worked on this about a year between all the mayors and the sheriff's department, and I think it's been pretty successful. I know that Mary is fussed at me a few times because the program doesn't, has a computer program it doesn't work exactly right. My whole thing is I hope we never have to use these tags, but if you haven't got yours, please come into town hall and get it. And that's all I have. Mayor Branch, Vice Mayor Branch.
All right, on the police report, on the physical arrest, Indian Shores had 5, and we had 5, so he either run the same guy down the road or something. But the traffic accidents, they had 5 with no injuries, and we had 1 with injuries in our area. Other calls for service, and this is what our police department really gets worked out on. And that was $295 for Indian Shores and $335 for Reddington Shores. Now, there's one other little thing that won't take long, and I'll ask the police captain if he would give us a report. We've had a lot of vehicles broke into, and I could sit up here and tell you why, but he could stand up and tell you, and with his uniform on, it might mean a little bit more to you. Then if your car's missing, it might mean even more than that. So if you would, please. It's too late. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As the Commissioner alluded to, it is a problem. It's endemic throughout probably Pinellas County and the state of Florida and maybe the nation. And it's a crime of opportunity, in most cases perpetrated by younger people. And in essence, the MO, what they do is they'll walk down the street and try the doors of cars. If they're locked, they go right on by them. If they're unlocked, they'll open the door, rifle through, take anything of value. They do it discreetly, they do it quietly, usually don't draw much attention to themselves, and they can hit 40 and 50 cars in a neighborhood before they're ever discovered. And then most times they're not discovered until the next morning when people start realizing, hey, where's my GPS or where's my stereo? And then sure, we still have the real true burglaries where they force their way in, break a window and take things. That does happen. But by and large, the vast majority are crimes of opportunity where the door is left unlocked and they just open it and take what they want. So really, lock your doors. It takes a second, and it will save you a lot of heartache and a lot of trouble. But in the event it does happen to you, make sure you call us and let us know.
Thank you, Captain.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Branch. Commissioner Capper?
Okay, as far as the building department, the month of February, we had 49 permits, no new construction. Total permit fees was $7,090.01. In January, we had 48 permits, 2 new single-family homes, and total fees of $41,813.51, plus your total LDU of $19,004.54. Some of the other things we're doing, we're redoing all of our irrigation for our medium strips and our parks, see if we can spruce those up and keep the grass green. Also, I see a lot of use in those parks, or Del Bello Park especially, on that equipment, the exercise equipment. People are using it. So if you get a chance, get down. It's a lot of fun. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Yep. Thank you. I'd like to bring this in. We did the evaluation of Steve Andrews, and I would like to recommend a merit increase of 3%.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, Mayor, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
For the people out there that don't know who Steve Andrews, that's our building inspector.
He's sitting right there. Building official. Building official.
Okay.
All right, is that all? Commissioner Capper, is that all?
That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson?
The Reddington Shores newsletter will be delivered tomorrow in the Beach Beacon, so be sure to look for that. I also wanted to let you know we are in the process of getting Constant Contact up and running. And if you're not familiar with it, it is a email system that will allow far better and more effective communication for our residents. If you have not given your email to the town, please do so we can add you to that list. And we actually hope to send out our first Constant Contact email by next week. And a great time to give us your email address is when you stop in to get those reentry permits. And that's all I have, because Commissioner Kennedy took everything for the bus stops for me. She did a far better job.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Do you have anything Commissioner Holmes?
I thought you handled it very well.
What I thought. All right, on to old business, and first is planning and zoning. The LPU recommended to the commission. I'm going to call on Attorney Denhart at this time.
Old business items 1 and 2 are really related. The commission had referred to the Planning and Zoning Board sitting as a local planning agency, the LPA, proposed ordinance concerning height in the town. That ordinance was prepared in conjunction with the Pinellas Planning Council, Mike Crawford, and you heard Commissioner Kennedy talk about the Pinellas Planning Council being one aspect that rolled into the MPO, and Mike Crawford served as a planning consultant along with PPC and met with your Planning and Zoning Board, and they reviewed the ordinance, and so they have referred this ordinance to you with the recommendation that it be passed as is. And then at this time, I would go ahead and read the title of ordinance number 15-1. An ordinance of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida pertaining to land development regulations, amending section 90-3 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to regulations in addition to the Florida Building Code by limiting the height of accessory structures to 10 feet, amending section 90-34 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to definitions by adding a definition for floodplain, amending section 90-40 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to site plans and construction drawings by removing acronyms, amending section 90-92 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to word usage and terms defined by updating certain definitions, adding a definition for design flood elevation and deleting unnecessary definitions, amending section 90-97 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to RS low density residential district by limiting the maximum building height to 30 feet, amending section 90-98 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to RS 10 medium low density residential district by limiting the maximum building height to 30 feet, amending section 90-99 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to RD 15 medium density duplex residential district by limiting the maximum building height to 30 feet, amending section 90-100 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to RM 15 medium high density multi-residential district by limiting the maximum building height of multifamily dwellings and townhouses to 45 feet, limiting height bonuses that may be earned to a maximum height of 65 feet for buildings containing 6 living stories, and limiting height bonuses that may be earned to a maximum of 50 feet for buildings containing 4 living stories, amending section 90-101 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to ROR 15 residential office retail district by limiting the maximum building height to 30 feet, amending section 90-102 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to CNR general commercial district by limiting the maximum building height to 30 feet, amending section 90-103 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to CTF Commercial Tourist Facilities District by limiting the maximum building height to 65 feet for buildings containing 6 stories and limiting the maximum building height for all other buildings to 30 feet, amending section 90-104 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to Plan Unit Development, PUD, to implement the Gulf Boulevard Overlay District in place of the town of Reddington Shores Urban Design Guidelines, amending section 90-105 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to PT Outdoor Recreation Public Open Space District by limiting the height of accessory structures to 15 feet, amending section 90-106 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to PI Public Semi-Public Institutional District by limiting the height of accessory structures to 15 feet, amending section 90-110 of the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, pertaining to mandatory site plan review by amending the guideline yard standards for new construction of principal structures, providing for severability, providing for the inclusion of such amended ordinance in the code of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, providing for an effective date. And as indicated, this is the ordinance that was discussed by the commission at the workshop that you held with Mike Crawford, and the ordinance that was then proposed to the Planning and Zoning Board as your local planning agency. and that they recommended passage of this ordinance in its current form. I would note that the title of the ordinance as originally proposed and it's published included the phrase, "and increasing the number of living units to 3 in any structure." That was deleted from the title, as I read intentionally. So the title is slightly amended in that respect. And also, Commissioner Holmes observed today that on page 30, the code had apparently always talked about a fence being 6 inches in height, and that was a scrivener's error that should have been 6 feet in height. And so I also made that change in the ordinance that's before you tonight. And with that, I would suggest at this time you open a public hearing for public comment.
All right. Public comment? Hearing none? Yes, sir. Step forward. You got 3 minutes, sir.
3 minutes to get up here.
That's because you didn't like me.
Okay, Casey Wojcik, 17826 Lee Avenue, Reddington Shores. First, on the definition of design flood elevation, there's a definition that was not altered in section 90-34. It does not include your final sentence there, which says flood insurance rate map, base flood elevation plus freeboard is defined in part 2. So it would be helpful if you put both of those definitions in sync. Okay, so you want to see that? No, okay. So secondly, I just want to, I read the ordinance, thank you very much, it's a great ordinance, and I think I understand it, that we're measuring from what we call mean sea level, or North American vertical datum. I'll refer to it as sea level. So I drew up 2 examples of my property, for instance. I have my lot has an elevation of 7 feet. Okay, so I'm on the VE 13, so my base flood elevation is 13 feet plus 2 feet of freeboard is 15 feet, and I have 7 feet of sand I have to build on top of. So I would have, my building would be 45 feet from NAVD, from mean sea level, but 7 feet is sand. If I have 10 feet of garage, that leaves me 21 feet of living space. And if that's what is that what you intended to do? See, here's the examples. I have some examples if you'd like to see that. I just want to make sure you intended to basically leave it at 45 feet from mean sea level without regard to the property elevation. And I have 2 examples here. One is at your 5 feet elevation, which leaves about 23 feet of living space. And my property at 7 feet of elevation leaves, so I just want to make sure, I appreciate the fact that the goal was to have 10 feet ceilings, but if you look at your examples, if I have to start at 7 feet high, that's 7 feet already gone, so all I have, if I put a 10-foot garage on, that means I'm 17 feet above sea level before I even start my construction. So if you have 3 feet of joist, whatever Steve told me about joist, that would be 20 feet before I start building, and then my measurement is 45 feet to the midpoint of a sloped roof. That's what the ordinance says, midpoint of a sloped roof, or the eave of a flat roof. So if you go to the midpoint of a sloped roof, there's 4 feet. If a sloped roof is 8 feet, so you have 4 feet of roof. So you have 7 feet of elevation, 3 feet of joist, 4 feet of roof, and that leaves you 21 feet of living space. And that's fine by me, because I like the 45-foot height. I just want to make sure that you agree with that.
No, I think you should have 30 feet of living space.
Well, then your ordinance doesn't work.
We believe it does.
And that's your 3 minutes. Thank you. Any other comment?
Close public hearing.
This time I'll close the public hearing. I need a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 15-01 as read by the town attorney.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. And next is a resolution 01-15 approving town floodplain management plan.
Resolution number 01-15, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Redding Shores, Florida pertaining to floodplain management, accepting the recommendation of the town's floodplain management committee as to the adoption of a revised floodplain management plan for the town of Redding Shores, adopting such floodplain management plan for the town of Redding Shores, providing an effective date.
Is this part of the public meeting? No?
No, I closed that.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution number 01-15.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Committee members.
Yeah. Krista Herrig, 17609 First Street East. I sat on the committee, and I may have missed something because I did miss one meeting, but the committee did decide that one of the best things that we could do for our CRS numbers, everything, is to reestablish the habitat and dune system along the beaches. And, but that's secondary, that's next year, but I still don't think we need to wait till next year to really start working on that. Other communities along our 12 miles between here and Sunset Beach, and even north of us, do get more CRS points than us. I have walked that whole area. I don't understand why they get more CRS points, and it may just be that we need to point out stuff in our verification, but it still is a priority, and it is one of the first defenses we can do for floods. So I just wanted to put it out there that the committee did make that a priority.
Thank you.
Chrissy, can I ask you, what was the point on the beaches, please?
The beaches?
The management, setting up a management of the beaches?
Well, it wasn't just the management. It's supposedly having dune systems
Correct.
and
That's part
habitat,
of it.
mostly flora,
Okay.
for the purpose of retaining the dune system.
Okay. And that is in the document.
But it's for next year, right?
Well, it's, yeah. Well, it's in,
Well, I'm just.
I think she just said that we all look at moving it up.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Anyway, this, I did furnish you, and you all have copies of them, I believe, the pages that were actually made changes to the 2014 floodplain management plan. And those were changes just to the changes that were Scrivener's errors back in the 2014 one mostly. In addition to the items that were actually changed were the action items beginning on page 3 with the action items beginning with Town Hall, 8.1.1, 8.1.2 through 8.1.6. And those are all action items that we have included in this plan to attack, to hopefully begin work on, and we'd like to, some of them we've been hoping for over the last couple of years of the flood management plan, and we haven't gotten there yet, and we need to. And I think this committee did a very good job on being realistic about some of the things that we want to do and get done. And I think with the town commission's support on this, which I'm sure we'll have to get some of these things done to get done. Yeah, in addition to that, these items are also included in the county's local mitigation strategy plan. And they have to be included in their plan in order for us to get looked at for grants down the road, and they're scored by the county. And so, in addition to the resolution that we're asking you to sign on adopting our floodplain management, we're going to ask you to sign a resolution, or to approve, excuse me, a resolution on approving the county's local mitigation strategy plan, which is very important for us. So, Anyway, we have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions on what we are doing here with this floodplain management plan and updating it to make it and be adopted as our 2015 plan? If not, I have nothing further.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Mayor, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. Next, resolution 0-15, adopting the Pinellas County Local Mediation Strategy Plan.
Resolution 02-15, a resolution of the town of Reddington Shores, Florida, recommending adoption of the Pinellas County Local Mitigation Strategy by the Reddington Shores Board of Commissioners, making this local mitigation strategy function as the town of Reddington Shores floodplain management plan and providing for an effective date hereof.
This is what we just spoke of, and I recommend that the commission adopt resolution 02-15 as read.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes. On the new business, and the appointment, reappointment to the town board. So Commissioner Capper, do you have any right?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Branch, or Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes. Michelle Gano said that she would be glad to serve again on the Park Board, Parks and Recreation Committee, and Ron Stein said he would be more than happy to serve on the Financial Committee. That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Henderson, did you have any?
No, I have nothing for mine.
Okay. Commissioner Holmes?
Well, I got something here somewhere. Actually, I have a couple of people here. I have a member of Parks and Recreation Committee, a Zelma Perkins, who has agreed to serve. Hopefully for not too long in the near future, that I can find someone to replace her. And I will work on that. She's been on it for several years, and she's agreed to serve, and hopefully until we can get a replacement for her, so. And I also have a District 4 Financial Advisory Committee. I'm going to nominate for appointment to that board Mr. Jim Esposito, who is present with us, and I handed you out a one-page resume on him and his background earlier, and he is with us. He is recently retired, I believe, from T. Rowe Price, and I think he would be a very good addition to the Financial Advisory Board, Committee, excuse me. And Jim, would you please stand up?
Thanks.
I don't know if anybody has any questions or if they're satisfied with what they've read or what.
I think everybody says that. So that's a motion. Put him on.
I nominate him just to be a member of that committee.
Second.
Would you want to make a
Second.
motion that all that were?
That all of them, yeah.
Oh, okay. Make a motion that all of the persons nominated to serve for their community be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, Mary, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Capper?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Can I just add one thing, Mr. Mayor? Sure. I'd just like to say that Mr. Esposito is replacing a person in District 4, David Eldridge, who has a long time served his community on the Financial Advisory Committee. And and done an outstanding job for our community and a lot of years of service to it on that committee, as well as floodplain management and a very important committee that was put to work a few years ago on our town charter, and he served on the town charter revision committee. So I just wanted to, I was hoping that he would be here tonight, but he's not, so I'd just like to pass that out on to you, that he certainly performed very well for his community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Next, approve the Town of Indian Shores Police budget, that big contract in our budget this year. The chief couldn't be here tonight.
No, sir, he couldn't. He sends his regrets.
Right.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. As you're aware, Chief Hughes has prepared the Police Department's FY 15-16 budget, and unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight to present it to you, but he does send his regrets. I know that he's met with you, Mayor Adams, and to discuss the proposed budget, and I'm confident that there's no surprises contained within the proposals. In a nutshell, we have held the line on any large or significant increases and are only asking from your town an increase, a total increase over last year's budget of $1,522 as it relates to our longstanding law enforcement services agreement. For the purpose of clarification, the total police department budget was increased by $4,348, and we are asking your town to share a portion of that increase. Service and staffing levels will remain unchanged, and the town of Redington Shores will continue to be a 50% shareholder in all police operations and resources. And I can say with confidence, it's my opinion that we provide an excellent and professional level of police service to the town and its residents, and that we are responsive to the needs of your community. We are also accessible to the residents and to you as a body as well. I hope that you all feel similarly, and I look forward to another year of a strong and professional relationship that's built on mutual trust and performance. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I make a motion that we approve the police budget that's been presented to us on a not-to-exceed fee-for-service in the amount of $434,938.
A second.
Motion has a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mayor, call the roll.
Commissioner Henderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Gabbard?
Yes.
Commissioner Holmes?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Mayor Adams?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Next is a proclamation declaring the month of April 2015 as Donate Life Month. And with that, any public comments? Hearing none, the next workshop meeting is Wednesday, March 25th, 2015 at 7 p.m. Regular meeting Wednesday, April 8th, 2015 at 7 p.m. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
We need this.